Hey everybody, Happy New Year. Welcome back to Going Ballistic with Jim Bob. Jim Bob here in my undisclosed garage in communist Illinois. I did a video yesterday for this, and I went to go watch it, and for some reason I just used my cell phone. The video, I started going this for some reason. I have no idea. It didn't I was in super slow-mo, so everything I wanted to show is I deleted it because it was terrible. So anyways, a friend of mine, Alex, I want to give his dad a Christmas present. So he has this is an EDC maintenance and trigger video all in one here. So he's got this Glock 19, which is obviously unloading, Gen 4 MOS model, which we're all familiar with. Gen 4 triggers are, I think personally, are a kind of a harsh break compared to Gen 5. Gen 3s are long travel, marshmallow. Gen 5s are pretty crisp, but they're not bad. So we took this whole gun apart yesterday in my video, and what we found was when I pulled this apart, I had this thing down to bare bones as always. When I pulled the trigger mechanism out of this, I'm not joking, man. This thing had so much gunpowder residue, brass. When I pulled this whole mechanism out of there, there was cobwebs, lint, spider egg sacs, you name it. It was in this thing. This was one of the absolute dirtiest guns I've ever I ever had to deal with. So we took this thing all the way down. I'm gonna pop it apart real quick. Then we had there we go. Get the locking block, slide lock. So when I took this apart, all inside of this top mechanism here, everything was just, oh my God, it was terrible. So like I said, there was spider egg sacs and webs, and this is one of these prime examples of people that have an everyday carry. Half the people don't ever train with them anyways or shoot them, but they just get them in their holster, tuck them away, good to go. Just zero maintenance any way, shape, or form on this. So had this all down. Obviously this thing's super duper clean now. I wish that video would have played. Let me grab something real quick, but it didn't. So what we did, man, the lighting in here is so bad. So what we did is we took the stock connector out and we put a Ghost Edge 3.5 in there. I've got 13 of these in my Glock. I'm absolutely sold on these things. Then I polished the trigger bore. You can see how nice and polished it is. And then when I do these, I just use, I know this is always debatable, I always hear this, is you've got your oiling points on your Glock. They just up there on the slide is what they all tell you. Well, the fact of the matter is, Glock, when these things are shipped to you new, they actually have this in there on the slide and on this trigger bore and the connector mechanism. This is the only other metal on metal piece that slides. If you shoot a bunch, and I know I've talked about this in the past, if you shoot a bunch, I recommend twice a year taking that apart and looking at it, inspecting it, see how it's wearing, see if it's got a bunch of abnormal wear, whatnot, you know. But then just grease it. I mean, you're not hurting anything. Some people just put oil. I use this Pro Gold is what I like to use. There's tons of other stuff out there. So I'm gonna put this thing back together, but there's just so much maintenance and care that needs to be done on these for everyday carry. The simple fact is they get so full of lint, cotton, you know, like jean fabric material, Hell, this one had freaking spiders growing in it. It just, you don't want to be in a situation where you're got to shoot this thing, you know, go bang once, but then it won't go back in the battery. You gotta whack the back of the slide. It's not a situation that you want to be in, so to speak. So anyways, put this back together here. So when you have these things apart, one of the key things that need to be done is you really need to inspect stuff. So obviously the safety plunger, I polished it as well. Front sight post. This thing, I could go like this with it. It was so loose. You know, these are probably $150 Trijicon sights. So I took the screw off. You can get you a little nut driver for these. I took it off, and I use blue Loctite gel is what I like to use. Put it back on there, cranked it down. This left MOS plate screw was ready to flop. I mean, there was maybe a thread or two holding this thing on. It was ready to fling out of there. Plate was rattling, so I took it off, cleaned it. It comes with the factory blue Loctite. I put blue gel back in there, did it, torqued it to spec, whatever it is, 15, 20 inch pound. I can't remember what it is. Did all that. It's just, so much needs to go in for inspection when you have these. Rattle, gonna go bang. But front sight post, check your MOS plates, lubricate that bar. When this thing came in, it had 6 to 6.2 pound pull, which is horrible. But you have all these people complain, man, my Glock trigger is so gritty. God, I hate it. I need a 200-hour Timney. No, you need to clean it, oil it. That'll take up half of your grip problem. I deal with this at work all the time. People, man, my trigger's so gritty. Clean it. So now, four or five, which most of these are about 5 to 5.5 stock, but this one was worse because the amount of grit. 5 or 4.5 again, and we had a family of spiders living in it. 4.5 again. So you're going to work on these. If you don't know how, there's no classes. YouTube something, get a manual. These things are very simple to work on. There's not a lot going on in these things for the trigger mechanisms. A lot of people don't like it. They, you know, like Walther, those are good triggers. They're real clean break. You got to mean to pull the trigger on a Glock. That's the way they're made. They don't have all the extra springs and stuff flying around in there to make them nice and smooth or whatever. These hardly have any moving parts inside this gun. So I would recommend you guys getting like a factory Glock tool. You get your little nut driver for your post, or you can get, like, I put grip tape on mine so I get a good grip, but you can get the takedown tool, and it comes with a little nut driver for your front post. And I highly recommend getting one of these. I think I got this from like the Glock store or whatever, for your magazines. Put it in there, pull it back, take it apart, get your brush, clean out all the gunk and whatever may be inside of your magazine. Then, you know, put it back together. It's just simple maintenance. For as far as your magazines go, most of the time when you start having malfunctions with a Glock, you'll be about half mid stack in your magazine, and then you got a failed feed or something goofy going on there, and tap racket and back normal up, done it again. Usually the magazine spring's taking a poop on you. So, you know, maybe you get like 1,000 rounds run through, just throw a spring in. They're only, what, $8 to $10. I always change the follower with it, or just, you know, buy a mag extension. You get everything. But if you can't, then, you know, you can't run one, then, you know, just little stuff like that. I need to take a moment now to pay homage to our sponsors of the channel. Okay, so then what you probably else would want to do is keep spare parts. Keep an extractor around. Recoil spring, you know, on a 40, I recommend about 7,500 rounds. Put a new recoil spring, put an extractor in it. You know, check everything for wear, check the breech, the loading ramp, check your sides, check your MLS plate, just basic maintenance. I just kind of want to throw that out there. Just God, people get these and they just throw them in their holster and forget about them. It just it's just an hour job. Take this thing all the way down, polish it, you know, if you want to do that, and put it back together. And then you just know that if a bad guy, you know, you take them down, you know everything's going to be good. You're not going to be thinking right anyway. Like, oh man, I got to clear my phone. I got to put it back in battery. No, just spend an hour. So I heard one YouTuber say, and it really clicked with me because he runs a lot of optics. January 1, everything gets new batteries. He doesn't have to think about, man, did I change every year? So make that your goal. Every year, like Christmas or an important day you never forget. January 1, your birthday. Don't do your anniversary because everybody always forgets it. So Christmas, January 1, your birthday, whatever. Take your stuff down and inspect it. If you don't have anybody local, learn how to do it. These are, I mainly just work on clock. That's it. These are so simple to work on. Check your striker. See if the tip is wearing funny. Just little things like that will go a long way. Where this thing will run smooth and it'll do you well, serve you well. So here's my little history lesson for people that not Glock triggers. Oh, they're too rough, they're too harsh. Well, when Glock pistols came to be, like in New York City is what I'm focusing on, is they were transitioning from revolvers to like the Gen 1 Glock 17. They thought the triggers were too light and they were unsafe and they didn't feel good carrying them. So they went back to Glock and had them redesign the connector where I think, if I remember right, it was either 10 or 12 pound connector. They called it the New York trigger. They wanted that pull because that's what they were used to. Can anybody believe that? But it's true. They did do that. Glock makes a factory minus connector, your standard connector, and a plus connector for people like that. They think they think that's unsafe because it's too light. Where people in our realm are like, man, I want that shit like 3.5 pounds. When are you talking 10 or 12? It's a true fact. So, but yeah, get you some good gun oil. I use that Pro Gold. You can use the factory stuff if you want. That's mainly for break-in, from what I was instructed on. But I still put a little thing of lube in there. It makes such a difference on how that trigger breaks and how it feels. It doesn't feel harsh or gritty. So that's about all I got for you. It's 7 inches of snow and about 8 degrees outside, so we're not doing anything outside for a while. So, got any comments, suggestions, questions? I'll answer everything, usually in a pretty timely fashion. So, hope everybody has a good January, and we'll see you probably next month. So, have a good day.